Okay, so here we are. We are in the JavaScript file for this Pokedex app, and I'm not gonna go over the HTML or CSS. I'm just using materialize, and I believe this is just a collection, and the H1, and then the image. So we're gonna keep this Pokeball up. So the way this is built isn't correct, and I know that because um, I have a try and catch function, but we'll get to that here in a second. So it's rather simple. So up here, we're just going to initialize two things, the search button, in case you want to use that, but everything is already running on a key up. So as you can see, if I click C, it's fetching the API, but no Pokemon's called C, and it does that for every single thing. But as soon as I hit D, it's going to fetch to Charizard, and then it's gonna find it. So this is the API I'm using, Poke API. Whoops, that should be close enough. So this is it, and you can ping Pokemon names, and that's essentially what I'm doing. The only thing is, let's go ahead and console.log this Pokemon response so we can look at it. We're actually going to console log this res data. Whoops. But we got to put it under here so we can get a look at it here in the console. So once again, it runs on key up or on the search function. So let's pull up the object that's returning from the fetch call. And this is the Charizard object. And as you can see, it has all of these different things in it. A move list array, but we're not gonna look at that. Even though, if I were to upgrade this, one of the things I want to do was, so basically how this works is, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. One of the things I want to do was find out Pokemon's evolution chains and then have those things appear, but I just couldn't get to that because those give me a lot of funky things. So here's the Pokemon ID, and as you can see, this is inserted here. Flavor tag, or this is for item. I'm sorry, you guys. Pokemon. So Pokemon name, and then the sprites, and then the shiny sprites, and then the Bulbapedia link, as I talked about in the last video, is just real easy to pop in there. And then this target.blank just opens it up in a different page. And then in this collection here, you're going to get the Pokemon's ID, the Pokemon's type, and the Pokemon weight and height. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. So apparently I misspelled height here. So let's reload that, and there it is. So I'm adding in inches, even though it's obviously not inches. As you can see here, the height is just given to me as a 17, and like I didn't really know what to put as that, so I just put inches, even though obviously Charizard isn't 17 inches long, and I believe the weight was the same kind of issue, that it just gave me 905. So it's like, I mean, I can assume that's pounds, but I really don't think it is. And so, but like if we were to go to this page, it's going to tell me that he's 1.7 meters or 5'7", and then 199 pounds. But this is giving me 905 and 17. So it's not really my fault that the data is wrong, but the data really doesn't matter in this case. So yeah, so there it is, and we can see all of this entire Charizard object right here and the things that I'm pulling out of it. And then if we were to go ahead and do something like this, let's close this first object up, and I get the second object, which is a Zapdos, and it's a lot of the same things. One of the problems I did run into was getting this type here, because some Pokemon have like Zapdos have flying and electric type, but I only have this Pokemon.types, so let's go ahead and find that. Pokemon.types. So this whole object is the Pokemon object. dot types, and then types 0. Fine. Now, I could probably make some kind of for each loop that prints out each different type, but this is me looking back on this project in the past, so I know a little bit more now. So I could probably done some sort of for each loop, because the issue is it's only going to show the first type, because when I had this as type 1, or I'm sorry, type 0 and type 1, it would work on Pokemons that have 2 types, but on a Pokemon with 1 type, it would break, and that's not what I want. So maybe I could, do some kind of for each loop on here. And then it's basically a copy and paste for the show items, except instead of going into, Pokemons, we're going to go into items. So let's just go ahead and hop into an item here. And as far as this hyphen thing goes, I'm not sure how to fix it, but if I had to just spitball, I'd say I could turn this into some kind of array. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, honestly. But so it's pretty much the exact same. We're going into the object and we're pulling out certain things. So items.name.to. I'm not going to console.log this object, but essentially I believe 0 was Japanese, 1 was something else, and 2 is English. And then here's the sprite, and then the item ID, the flavor text, effect entries, cost is here, and category is standard dash balls. So that's the 2 different pings, and this is definitely not this part isn't probably how it should be, but it works because this is only doing 2 things. So essentially this is saying go ahead and get the Pokemon data, and if that doesn't work, then get the item data. So if I type in Pokeball, what the program's going to do is it's going to try to search the Pokemon APIs for a Pokeball, but it's not going to find that, and it's going to then do .try, or not .try, it's just going to do a try, and it's going to do item data. So this works, but I'm sure that's not the way it would work if this application was a lot larger. And then if neither of those work, it just consoles.logs the error. So let's see. Yeah, it's just not going to work, but that's fine. So yeah, and also I should go ahead and mention that fetch is asynchronous, and basically all that means is that it's not happening all at once when I click run. It's going to take a little time to ping the API and then give me the data back. So if I go and type in Charizard again, it just takes a second to load up these images. Obviously the images are bigger than these text inputs, so that's why they kind of load like that, but that's essentially a good visual representation of how it's asynchronous, because if I typed in something like that, it has to go retrieve that data and then pull it back, and that's all async means. And then these are just promises. This is just a promise, and I'm basically saying when I get the ping back, turn that ping into a JSON object, and then go ahead and return that. So yeah, that's the Pokemon app functionality, and yeah.